Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So today for you guys, I have the brand new Baltany. Normally when I look at Baltanys and my first impressions of Baltany are rather good. Pretty much as I think back, all the watches I've looked at and in hand instantly has been like, wow, this is a really nice watch. But this time, I don't know, guys. I feel that maybe they've hit a bit of a design brick wall because Baltany have been doing this for such a long time. And I get it. It is really difficult to keep, kind of impressing us, keep coming up with different designs. This, I feel that it's a design which they've done previously, or it looks very similar to just many other designs. And there's not that much variation for this to be anything that special. But then should every watch release be that special? I don't know. But that's just the feeling it gave me. But that's not to say it's a bad watch. Just looking at this watch a lot closer, there's so many features on it that are quite nice. And it follows usual Baltany's consistency and build quality, which has been present, I believe, maybe on 99% of the watches. So this is the model number S205054. Let's run through the specifications. It has a sapphire crystal, slightly top hat. It's got a nice kind of slope and profile to that crystal. I do like that. You've got a full steel case, as you can see. You've got 50 meters of water resistance, even though you do actually have a screw down case back and a screw down crown. You use a Miyota 6S21 quartz movement. As you can see, you've got a coin edge bezel to this, but in this instance, the bezel actually rotates. It's bi-directional, so a friction bezel with this kind of red triangle on the top. And you do also have two different dial colors. You've got the black, which I have in hand, and you've also got a tropical brown dial version. Price for this watch is around £120, which is kind of normal for Baltany watches. I think in and out of sales that will vary slightly. And in terms of dimensions, 39.7 millimeters on the case, 13 mil thick, 46.5 millimeters in terms of lug to lug, and a 20 mil lug width. And they sent the watch over on a black leather strap, and the overall weight is around 75 grams. So hopefully, guys, you get what I'm saying about the designs. It's nothing which really stands out. And Baltany, I know they do this thing, they do it really well, where they do homage to so many vintage watches, and this is their own niche. They've kind of stamped their authority on AliExpress. No one does it like Baltany. And as I said today, what's really impressive about Baltany is their consistent quality, the consistent level of build, which is present on this. Just for me, the design doesn't really do that much. So we take a closer look. It's got plain black dial. It isn't grayed out, so you do have a bit more black in it. You also got your 14er lume Arabics. You got your 14er lume syringe style hands, which great proportions as always. Now there is a slight difference in the lume applied to the dial, so you can see there's a white tip on that arrow, and you also got white slithers on the handset on the two sub dials. That's because the watch does use two types of lume, and lume on the Baltany has always been good, and the lume shot on this is no different. You've got really bright, that 14er C3 style lume, and then the BGW9 not as bright, a bit patchier, but understandably it's on very small surface areas. It is blue, and you can see they work really well, so no fault from Baltany on the lume side, as good as always. And the rest of the dial is pretty neat, printed nicely and very clean. You've got the bottom end of the dial, which is quite empty, but with this particular style of watch, they've named this the Type 20. It's pretty common. These watches aren't meant to be that complicated. They're meant to be a certain style, which I think Baltany has captured, as they always do. And the rest of the dial is normal, right? Great printing. I think that box style sapphire, just on the extreme edges you get a bit of distortion, which is good, but for the most part you get a very good and clear visual. And the bezel, though, in terms of like the build quality on this Baltany, it is overall good, but I think the bezel is just a bit too smooth. The coin edge does have a slope, which even I'm not wearing gloves for this precise reason, but even with it being a friction bezel, it's a bit difficult to rotate. You really have to kind of take your time with it because it does get stuck, and that mechanism in between, which, to be honest with you, the mechanism they're not that complicated for bi-directional bezels. I mean, I remember looking at a Seiko Pilot, which when you take the bezel off, it's just a thin piece of plastic, like see-through plastic, which sits in the middle, which I'd say it is a case for most of them. So that's not the best, but it is finished really nicely. There's no sharp edges to it. I just wish there was a bit more grip. It was a bit more pronounced, so you could actually rotate it nicely. In terms of the case is exceptional as always. You've got some nice brushing on that bezel as well. We take a look at the lugs. You know, they've really kind of execute this case so well. It makes it look a lot more expensive than it is. That linear brushing on those lug tips. You've got a rather large tapered polished bevel, which looks awesome when you take a look at it on certain angles. That's really beautiful to see. And then you've got very soft satin-like brushing along the side of the case. Again, you know, the case itself is amazing. They've done such a great job at such a low price point. Pushers are usual, brushed in a circular fashion, and then your crown also circular brushed. Large enough, really good grip, and it's large and slim, so it fits nicely with the case profile. Positive click on the pushers, and then with this Miyota movement, the hand kind of sweeps back to position, which is, you get that on a lot of Seiko movements as well, which are not Mecha Quartz. And then, yeah, good amount of resistance on the hand. Usually with some Quartz watches, you'll find yourself just flying all over the dial because there's literally no resistance. So overall, it's made well enough, honestly. So let's check this on wrist. Let's see how it looks. And on wrist, it fits really well for a 40mm, let's say, vintage pilot watch. One thing which you will notice on the dimensions is the lug to lug is 46.5, which is very important. Usually these style of watches, lug to lugs around 48, 49, and even at that lug to lug with a leather strap, you find you do get a bit of overhang. But with this being 46.5, and it doesn't really look it, so the proportions are a bit different here. 40mm case and just a very compact lug, but if you actually look at the lugs, they do look quite long, they do taper down, and that lug to lug is very important, and it fits so good. It does wear really well. Leather strap is quite supple, it's very comfortable. It feels quite different to the usual cheaper straps that you see. It's got a really good grain on there, which actually grips your finger, which to me shows me that this strap is softer. You've got Baltany branding on there, and they've kind of taken that away. Usually Baltany watches were a little bit too sterile, but you saw the case back, it's got something on there, and of course the buckle branding, which is appreciated. It makes them more recognizable as a brand. So even though it does look good, I just think there's nothing really that jumps out about this particular design. They've done so many that look like this, but they are showing us continued consistency. The loom's great. I'm not too sure about how smooth the bezel is. It doesn't really help it rotate freely as it should. But other than that, you know, it's another well-made watch from Baltany. So that's it for me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this particular watch. What do you like about it? Do you think anything about it does set it apart from the rest of the brand or the rest of their watches? Like always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.